Hello everyone and welcome to Sparkling Autos. So in this week's video we're going to be looking at this disgustingly filthy, neglected Ford Mondeo, which just happens to be my own car. A few people did tell me when you start doing YouTube that your own car will be neglected, as you just don't find the time or don't have enough time because you feel that washing it without videoing it is a waste of time. And that's exactly what's happened here. So it's been about 8 weeks since the car was cleaned properly and I thought it's time to get a finger out and get this done. The only question I was asking myself is, what am I going to use to clean the car? Well, a few months ago on Instagram, I won a competition from Stephen at SP Reviews, which was a selection of Constellation Chemicals products, which I've been keen to use for quite a while now, so I thought today was the perfect opportunity. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll actually have a unique discount code for Constellation Chemicals. Now, although it was dry, it was still a very cold day, so I'm only testing 4 of the products in this video, which are the EQUINOX All-Purpose Cleaner, the PULSAR Snowfoam, the CELESTIA Shampoo, and the Cosmos Ceramic Quick Detailer. So I have a few other products from the range, but I didn't get around to using those today because of the temperatures. I will do in future videos. So as always, if you like the video, press the thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell for future videos. But enough waffling, let's get on with this one. Not even 2.5 minutes into this video and I've already told you a lie. I did actually use another product, which was to clean the wheels. I've used the Guardz Tddripod wheel shampoo, but before actually using it to wash the wheels, I decided to rinse them down. I could have gone with the popular Instagram method and sprayed over the road muck with a fallout remover just to have the wheels turn purple, but that's not really how you clean a wheel, because all it's doing is just reacting with surface dirt that would have washed off anyway. So remove most of that first of all, and then just go in lightly with the wheel shampoo, and you see how little product you actually need to bring the wheels up to decent condition. Now when I say decent condition, as you can see here during this, these wheels are not in any way good condition. They're pretty poor, they need refurbished, but they're the wheels that are on the car. I'm certainly not going to refurbish wheels at this time of the year. But what are you talking about? Get on with it. Now, as you will have noticed from the opening shot, I may have over concentrated this, just a tad. I've put 30ml of the Guardz Tddripod 1 wheel shampoo in the small bucket. 10ml probably would have been enough. But the wheels were pretty filthy, and who doesn't like to see a slow motion shot of bubbles overflowing from a bucket? You'd think with all this waffling that this clown would be done with the rinsing, but no, he's still at it. Suppose that's a good thing. Make sure you give a third rinse down. You want to get as much muck off as possible before you actually go in and start washing the wheel. Here we go, finally. So first thing I did was the tyres. Now for this I have used the Constellation Chemicals All-Purpose Cleaner, EQUINOX, just EQUINOX. And it does say for heavily soiled areas you can use it neat, and for lighter soiled areas dilute 1 to 50 with water. So what I actually did was mix it up at 1 to 20, and I'll explain why in a few minutes when we get on to the bodywork. One thing you should notice here, that what I'm doing in between each cleaning pass is rinsing the bucket out with the hose. No, I'm not rinsing the bucket out with the hose, rinsing the brush or applicator out with the hose before it goes back into the bucket. You should do this with all your things. The same way you use a rinse bucket when you're washing the bodywork, you should do it when you're cleaning your wheels too. Because by the time you get to the 4th wheel, all you're left with is a bucket filled with diluted brake dust, and you don't want to be rubbing that into your wheels. This is just a little tip I picked up from Martin at Obsessive Car Detailer and Graham at GM Details. You should check out both of their channels, by the way. But not yet, watch this one first. And don't forget to roll the car back or forward to get into the section of the wheel where the brake caliper is if your brush doesn't fit in there. And don't forget to give a good clean in around the arches as well, particularly at this time of year when you have a lot of road salt. You don't want that lying in there for too long. Rawr. And when you're done, give a good thorough rinse, making sure that you remove all of the product. On to the engine bay now. So apart from the obvious road salt and the spray and just general grime that gets flicked up around the rest of the car coming into the engine bay, I also serviced the car recently, and changing the diesel filter on most cars, but particularly in this where it's situated, it's impossible to do without getting diesel over the engine. So I wanted to get that cleaned off, and this was a perfect opportunity. And again, I'm using the EQUINOX APC diluted at 20:1. I've just made the one bottle up to do the entire car, and again, I'll come to that more when it comes to doing the bodywork. Now, this was all going to plan, but as you may have seen at the very start of the video, something terrible is about to happen. So after turning the camera off and wasting about 15 minutes trying to actually retrieve the brush, I decided it was impossible. The car was going to have to be jacked up and the oil tray dropped down to get the brush out. So I just grabbed another brush from the garage, finished it off, forgot to hit record, and now I'm rinsing it. I think the less said the better. So now we can look at the APC properly. EQUINOX, it says for heavily soiled areas use neat, and for lighter soiled areas dilute at 1:50 with water. Now, I'm not particularly one for getting in too strong if I don't have to. One, because it wastes product, and two, it wastes money. So although the car was quite heavily soiled and with dried on road grime and dirt, I decided to give it a try at 20:1, and if that wasn't going to work, I'd try it a bit stronger. So sprayed it on, left it for 5 minutes, and then rinsed the product off with a pressure washer. Now, as always with this type of footage, I'm going to speed it up a bit. We're not going to sit here for the full 5 minutes because that's just a pointless exercise. So there we go, as if by magic, we've skipped forward a few minutes, and you can see if you look at the raised part of the arch there, where it's actually started to break down that really thick heavy dirt on the edge of the door. So now we're going to rinse it off and see how we get on, and if it needs to be stronger, we'll make it stronger. And remember that pressure washers, as with machine polishers, make sure you turn the power on when you go to use it. There we go. As you can see here, after just 5 minutes dwelling, it's removed this with absolutely no effort whatsoever. You might also notice there's no protection on this car, which makes this even more impressive, how this has been able to take all that dirt off at a 20:1 dilution. So we left it another couple of minutes to dry out. Sometimes a wet panel can make it look deceptively clean, but as you can see here, even after it's dried, that dirt has been removed quite successfully. I'm very impressed with this APC. Now, as I had made up a whopping 1.2 litres of this mixture, I decided to go around the rest of the car and coat it before I blanketed it with the Snowfoam. Why did I make so much up? Well, I had to do 2 hits on each tyre and the engine bay, not just the bodywork. However, as I did only use 60ml of the actual product, that worked I've used a total of 96 pence, give or take, which I think is fairly good. So while I'm applying it, I'll give you a few bullet points from the description on their website. It says EQUINOX is a pH neutral all-purpose cleaner, ideal for use both interior and exterior surfaces, including fabrics. Can break down dirt and grease with ease, need fresh service, and lemon scent. I didn't notice the lemon scent, but then again I had it diluted at 20:1. It's designed to clean thoroughly without damaging sealants, waxes, or other types of protection. I can't really tell with this car because I don't have any protection, but I'm going to use it again in the future, as it will be protected by the end of this video. Now we move on to PULSAR, which is a pH neutral Snowfoam compatible with all types of paintwork, waxes, sealants and ceramic coatings. The instructions on the bottle say to dilute it 1 part PULSAR to 9 parts water. However, given the condition of this car, I decided to go with 1 part PULSAR to 4 parts water. The 1 to 9 ratio is probably absolutely fine if the vehicle is protected and in reasonable condition. But the fact that I had no protection in this car whatsoever, and it was in pretty poor condition, considering it had been neglected for 2 months, I thought it was best just to go in with a stronger solution to save me having to do it twice. The instruction or application method is pretty standard for a Snowfoam. Apply it, allow it to dwell for up to 5 minutes, again depending on temperature and weather conditions, and then thoroughly rinse it off. One thing I will say about this foam is, if you're into thick shaving cream style Snowfoams, this probably isn't the one for you. This is definitely a function over fashion Snowfoam, which is exactly the type that I go for. If you want something that's going to look good in your Instagram shots, look elsewhere. But if you want something you can put in the car and rinse off after 5 minutes and it's going to remove 90+% of the dirt, this is definitely a good one to try out. So now you can see what I mean. After just 5 minutes dwell time, most of the product has actually run off the vehicle. That's not a criticism. It hasn't dried out or anything. It's just the formulation is designed to run off the car. And that's the type of snow foam I like to use. One that softens or removes the dirt and it disappears. I don't need something that's going to linger about, that's going to take me 15 minutes to actually rinse off the car. Or it's still going to be sitting in my driveway 3 days later. I don't want to sound like I'm being overly critical of that type of foam. At the end of the day, if you like it and it works for you, good. All I want from a snow foam is something that's going to remove most of the dirt from the car and that can rinse away relatively easily. And as you can see here, that's definitely something I can do with this particular product. So going from bottom to top as usual, you will see obviously, as I've mentioned, this product does run off pretty quickly. It looks like there's nothing left on the car, but with continuously moving the camera around and trying to get the angles just right and the lighting and everything, it's a new camera, I'm still trying to get used to it. It does take a bit more time, so the foam's actually been on the car for about 10 minutes now. Wasn't too concerned because it's a very cool day. I'm not overly worried about temperatures or drying in. In fact, there's zero chance it was going to dry in. Which you can see as I'm rinsing it here, there's clearly still product coming off the car. Another thing you might notice here if you look at the wheels is the detail guards. I'd seen Paul Dolden use these in quite a few of his videos, and I just thought for the sake of a couple of pounds it'd be worth trying. So I spent a couple of pounds and I tried them. And I wasn't disappointed. Basically what they do is, when you're pulling the hose around the car, they stop the hose getting stuck under the tyres. So if you're interested in trying them for yourself, I'll leave an affiliate link in the comment section underneath, along with links for all the other equipment I use, including all my camera gear. If you're not sure what an affiliate link is, basically it doesn't cost you any more money. It's a direct link from my channel to the product, and if you buy the product from that link, I basically get a couple of pence out of that purchase. It makes absolutely no difference to your transaction, it just helps the channel going forward. But enough waffling, let's get back to rinsing the snow foam off the car. You'll notice here from the water behaviour as I'm rinsing the car off that there's no protection left whatsoever, which isn't really a surprise because the last time I applied any sort of protection to the car was when I did the Alien Magic video back in Halloween. So it's been 2 months, over 2 months since that was applied. I don't know when that actually died off, but it's clearly nothing there anymore. Which has saved me a lot of hassle today because it saves me doing any decontamination. I can just go ahead and apply the finishing products at the end of this video without worrying about any cross contamination. But back to the snow foam. Obviously we've covered the fact that PULSAR isn't an overly creamy, thick, long lasting snow foam. It's quite easy to rinse off, it's quite thin and runs off the vehicle. But what's it actually like for cleaning power? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to look at the vehicle afterwards. I think you can agree with me looking at these shots that it's actually done a very good job. It's brought the colour of the car back, which some people seem to think is grey but is actually blue. And after using the two products, EQUINOX and PULSAR together, I think that blue's really come back to life. And the car's looking pretty well, before we've even done our contact wash. Ignore this little glitch by the way. Not sure what happened there, but it's not really important. Let's get on with the contact wash. So now we move on to the shampoo, and this one is called CELESTIA. So we'll do the usual and read from the bottle first of all. CELESTIA is our high concentration pH neutral shampoo, specially developed by our dedicated chemist to safely remove dirt and debris from your vehicle with minimal effort. So how to use it? It says to add 5 pumps in CELESTIA to a water bucket. And I recently spoke to Frank from Constellation Chemicals, and he's advised me that each pump is give or take roughly 1.8 millilitres, which means 5 pumps is working at about 9 mil, which is pretty impressive to a bucket containing almost 20 litres of water. Give or take, that's around 2,000 to 1, which A lot of the shampoos nowadays are claiming the same sort of dilution ratio, and I've used a few that do work at that, but some of them, despite claiming a 2001 ratio, actually need maybe double that to make it an effective shampoo. So how does this one measure up? Well, I must say in first impressions, it's very sudsy and very slick to use. I have no complaints whatsoever. So always remember just to give the pad a good rinse out in between each pass. Squeeze the dirty water outside of the bucket, not back into it again, because that kind of defeats the purpose. And then go in, and when you're getting suds, get your arm right into the bottom again, because you want to really load your pad up with as much suds as you can to go on to the next panel. Now you'll notice a lot of steam coming off the pad here. This is just down to the time of year. The temperatures are very cold. I'm not using stupidly warm water to wash the car. So I'm washing them across hatch pattern as always, and flipping the coin in between. Coin? What coin? Idiot. Flipping the pad in between each direction. I've lost the power of speech here. Maybe I'll just stop talking for a while and let you watch the video. And I'm back again. You probably knew I wouldn't stay quiet for too long. One thing I notice here when washing the doors is I don't go right down to the bottom of the door. The lower section is where most of the dirt is getting flicked up from the wheels and other vehicles in the road, etc. So rather than wiping the dirt from there and dragging it up over the rest of the car, you're going to risk more swirls and any paint defects. I leave that to the end, and I actually use a separate mitt for the lower part of the vehicle. In actual fact, I use 5 in total, so 1 for the roof, bonnet and tailgate, 1 for the glass, 1 for wings, top halves of the doors and the rear quarter panels, a 4th one for the lower parts of the doors and the front and rear bumpers, and then a final one just to go around underneath the sills and the undersides of the front and rear bumpers. Now some people may think that's excessive, and some people may use a lot more. It's all down to personal preference. I know some people that use a separate mitt for each panel, and that's entirely up to them. I can understand their logic behind it. My way works for me. I have a colour coded system. I know which mitt I've used for which panel, so every time I come to wash another car, I'm using the same ones again. And when you're finished with your mitts, remember to go around with your soft detailing brush and do around your badges, your door handles, window seals, and your grille and all the rest. The bits you're never going to get with any mitt. Just realised I spent more time talking about mitts than the actual product itself, but I will say it's a very decent shampoo. I got to the end of the car, and including the extra time it takes to fill them, there were still suds in the bucket, so yep, very good in terms of sud longevity, if there is such a thing. But how did it clean? That's the most important thing. So we'll find out now. So we'll rinse the vehicle off, top to bottom, being very thorough as always. And as I mentioned a few times before the channel, don't be afraid to go over the car 2, even 3 times if need be with the pressure washer when you're rinsing. And I really can't emphasise that enough. Soap stains are a heck of a lot harder to get off paintwork than soap. You'll notice here as well the effects of the glass stain that I've applied. Now this has actually been on the rear windscreen for, I'd say, a good 4 or 5 months now. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you subscribe to the channel you might see it in a future video. This is one of the advantages of bigger cars. Because you have a large overhang at the back end, you don't really get any spray over the back windows, therefore you're not having to wipe it as often. Your front windows take a bit more of a hammering, that's why the sealant tends not to last as long, but I still get a good 2-3 months out of it in the front before I have to reapply anything. So the big question is, how has CELESTIA performed as a shampoo? Well, let's dry the car off and find out. So, drying time now, and as I've said before, when you're going to dry the car, you actually need your drying towel to be slightly damp to absorb the water better. Best way to do this is to go into your glass first. And clearly I've deliberately forgotten to do the near side of the windscreen, but I'm sure I'll get to it eventually here. The towel I'm using today I think is the blue wheel that I got from County Detailing Supplies. I'm not 100% sure. It was on Black Friday deal, so I got it in special offer. But I'm 99% sure that it's a blue wheel. Either way, it's a very good towel. This is the first time I've used it, but I'm very impressed. However, we're not here to talk about drying towels. I'm here to talk about these products. And as you can see here, in terms of cleaning part, they've done a very good job, and I'm really satisfied with them. The colour of the car has come back to life, it's a real dark, deep gloss in it, and yeah, I'm very happy. The only thing to do now is to apply the protection, and hopefully it is just as impressive as the first few products I've used. So now we move on to the finishing product for today's video, which is Constellation Chemicals Cosmos. So again, just to read quickly from the bottle, Cosmos is our SiO2 infused quick detailer. Developed after months of research, Cosmos can be used either as a quick detailer to improve the shine of your paintwork and remove light contaminants, or as a hydrophobic ceramic spray with amazing water repellency. It will leave a long lasting high gloss protection. So the application is pretty standard. Apply to the surface of the vehicle one panel at a time, work into the surface using a clean microfiber cloth, and using another clean microfiber buff the residue. Do not allow it to dry. So my initial thoughts on using this is that I would definitely describe this more as a sealant than a quick detailer. It has that sort of almost oily texture that you get with a good sealant. It's not a criticism, it's just in terms of how this product feels to apply. It's not the sort of thing I would go for if I just wanted to remove a quick fingerprint or something from the bodywork. Another suggestion in terms of cloths, particularly for the application stage, would be to use a low pile microfiber. Don't be using a soft plush one because it tends to be a bit grabby when you're trying to apply a product like this. As for buffing, it buffed reasonably well. I did find it a bit difficult, but that was more down to the temperature, that's not the product itself. As I said earlier, when I was doing the wash stage, it was a very cold day, there's a lot of moisture in the air, and this type of product isn't the sort of thing you should be applying in those sort of conditions. It's not that it causes any issues, it's just the moisture in the air makes it a bit difficult to remove. It's not the end of the world, I did get it off, it did buff off absolutely fine in the end. What about the finish itself? Well, I definitely think it added a bit of gloss to the paintwork, and certainly felt very slick. In terms of durability, obviously I've absolutely no idea at this stage, but I will do a follow-up video in a few weeks, and we'll give the car a quick wash with the same Snowfoam again, although I'll obviously dilute it down properly this time to 1 to 10, and see how we get on with it. So just to wrap up my opinion on Cosmos, the application was relatively straightforward, bar the issue, as I say, I had with the buffing, which was more than likely down to temperature. And in terms of finish, I'm very impressed. The only question mark I have remaining is over the durability, but we'll find out in a few weeks. However, based on my own experience of applying sealants with this type of texture, I have a feeling that it's going to last pretty well. Now, I did mention at the start of the video that I'd have an exclusive discount code for Constellation Chemicals. So if you are buying anything and you get to the checkout, enter the code SPARKLING15 and that'll get you 15% off all 500ml products. Ones that aren't on offer, obviously. Now, this won't apply to the likes of sample bottles and already discounted bundle kits, etc. But your standard 500ml bottles will all be discounted by 15% by entering the code. And I'll put a reminder of the code below along with the link to the Constellation Chemicals website. So initial thoughts on Constellation Chemicals, I'm pleasantly surprised. I must say I'll definitely be using these again. There were a few things I didn't even get covered in this video, including the lance which I used, which is also from them. But I'll get using that in a future video, definitely going to touch on these again. So I'll leave you now with just the finished shots, and don't forget to subscribe and come back for more videos. Thank you.